Right, let's move on to the next segment now, guys. Right, now for those of you guys who weren't watching the show the other day, we were talking about the entire Lacey Evans situation. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what happened, she posted this on her story, and it's basically a clip saying that autism didn't exist before, processed foods and all this. And she then, there's a lot of controversy, so she replied with this tweet by Sean Rossap, which said, "This Lacey Evans post is infuriatingly stupid. I'll just leave it at that." And she replied saying, "I watched a video on the impact processed foods is having on our children, and I shared the video. You all are insane." I'm going to be honest, I don't think we're the insane ones. But then moving on then, she then liked the tweet saying, "Hey now, don't try and take away someone's desire to feel offended." So, she's clearly feels like she's trying to be, people are trying to cancel her for this or whatever, her, sharing completely false information. But today, we're bringing in an expert, right? We're bringing in a guest. We're bringing in Laurie Taylor, who is the author of the best-selling memoir, The Accidental Truth: What My Mother's Murder Investigation Taught Me About Life. She also does mental health awareness and suicide prevention, and she's a keynote speaker and investigative journalist. Laurie Taylor, how are you today, Laurie?
I'm well. Happy to be here with you. Thank you.
That's great, great, great. So what was your take on this entire, Lacey Evans situation that's, unfolded with all of this and, the sources which she cited when it came to it all?
Sure. I my background is in sports marketing. I've worked with professional athletes. I understand about building platforms and what platforms mean. And I also do investigative work about misinformation and disinformation and how it spreads and how it affects people. And my take on it was, in Lacey posting a meme, there was intent to trigger, right? There was intent because we know that disinformation and misinformation spreads further, right, than factual information. And what we know is that she didn't do her research. There were a lot of comments I saw on your site that, oh, well, she researched it. This is just her, her opinion. And I thought, digital literacy is really important right now. We need to check sources. So I went and checked the sources. And if you want to present an opinion, particularly a medical opinion, right, anyone can Google who the expert is in autism, ADD, neurodiversity, if you're looking at, psychological disorders. It's very, very simple. But she wanted to post something to trigger a reaction, to go viral, so she would get the attention. And she wanted to, generally speaking, people who post memes want to confirm their own bias regarding a subject. So the source, Dr. Joel Wallach, was a respected veterinarian for 40 years before he became a neuropathic physician. In some states in the US anyway, if you're a neuropathic physician with his type of certification, you can't even use the term doctor. So obviously she wasn't going for an expert opinion. You can go to I'm trying to think off the top of my head, Simon Baron-Cohen at Cambridge. You can go to Stanford, Harvard, right? MIT, where there has been research and studies done. And I also saw people say, well, what's the harm in her just giving her opinion? And that's, I think, something that people really need to understand, is that she has young followers. Yeah. And she was gaslighting them, telling them that ADD and autism didn't exist. And we know that that type of invalidation for someone who might be in a place of depression, a place that, where they're triggered, can be too much and can push them. They're at greater risk for a suicide attempt. And that was my concern. My desire to talk about it is that I do believe in people's right to free speech. I do, wholeheartedly. But people also have the right to push back and to state their, disagreement with, she stated an opinion as fact. And we know that medical disinformation is any claim that is made that can be disproven by scientific consensus, which means the experts agree on, and the experts don't agree on Lacey's statement in the end, Ben.
Yeah, and I mean, it's when people ask, what is the harm in it? Well, if you look back at the entire autism vaccine thing, and that all came from one study in the UK back in 1998, where they got 12 children, and they picked children who they knew were autistic, and then they were like, "How many of you are vaccinated?" And it was pretty much as simple as that. And eight of the 12 were vaccinated, and that's what the study was published. And the doctor, it destroyed his career. But despite the fact that it was awful, like the sample was like awful, like you can't get it from just 12 children. Despite that, it caused so much harm. So many people didn't get vaccinated. So many people were saying that vaccines caused autism, and still to this day people do. And it's in a really difficult situation now, where it's I don't think people really realize the impact of what somebody, especially somebody with a following like Lacey Evans does, the impact that that can have on people and their thought process. And like you mentioned, a lot of people who might be seeing that are young, because a lot of her followers are a lot of people on Instagram are a younger audience, and perhaps they wouldn't think to look on certain sites and discuss stuff like that. And it really frustrated me. Like I commented the other day on the stream. Like it is a really frustrating thing to see. But I mean, you just got to hope that people look at the evidence and all of that. And WWE, she's meant to be returning to SmackDown tonight. However, they've not been advertising it now, so it does bring up, are they doing it, or are they just doing it quietly and they're not going to advertise it on social media? Those are the two questions going round. I mean, what do you think WWE should do, Clark? Do you have any
I
thoughts on what
mean,
they could do?
I personally would pull this appearance entirely, and even if they are going to bring her back, I still think we're owed that apology. That
Yeah,
some sort of, I understand. Um, uh, Personally, I'll be disappointed if we see her on television tonight, and that's not to say that I don't respect her work in the ring. I do. Lacey Evans is an amazing athlete, amazing story, being an ex-marine, or not ex-marine, a marine, and a mother, and all of that. And I think that's what was so disappointing for me about the whole situation, was I really didn't think that she would, you know, say something like that without really knowing what she was saying, I think. And then to react to it and kind of double down the way she did, it's just frustrating me. And so
yeah,
I hate to say this, and I don't want anyone to lose their job. I'm not saying fire her or cancel her or any of that, but just some sort of resolution. And I would prefer to not see her on television tonight,
She
given
needs
the
to
recent
be
stuff.
educated.
Yeah.
She needs to be educated about the power of her words, the power of her platform. One thing that she will never see is the consequences of her words, right? She'll never know what child, what kid, who was affected adversely. And to, not have an awareness of that shows a lack of understanding of, right, the power of her platform, the power of the word. Also, brain health is a huge subject, right, in all of wrestling. Brain health includes, mental health. It includes, it includes everything: brain injury,
Yeah.
neurodiversity. And it falls under the same umbrella. Neurodiverse, autism and ADD are not psychological disorders. They all follow under the brain health umbrella. And if we care about people who have depression, people who have CTE, right, we care about everybody who's under the umbrella. And I think for WWE not to acknowledge that part of it, I think would be a real misstep for them.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, we briefly touched on this the other day as well. Like, I don't understand how that WWE feel themselves like they'd have an issue with what happened with Mandy Rose and why she got released from the company. Why they had an issue with that, but they wouldn't have an issue with one of their stars spreading misinformation, and then joking about spreading misinformation as well. Posting memes and all that. That's what I still can't quite get my head around about why WWE don't have an issue with this. Hopefully the situation gets resolved. Hopefully she apologizes, and hopefully everything can move on here. And that's that's ideally what we all want. But thank you for joining us, Laurie. I really, really appreciate it. And make sure to check out her book as well, which is, again, I'll say the title again, The Accidental Truth, What My Mother's Murder Investigation Taught Me About Life. And that is available on Amazon. And is it available anywhere else?
And anywhere books are sold.
Great. So anywhere books are sold. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, hopefully that's cleared some stuff up for everybody.
I appreciate it, Ben. Thanks so much for having me.